ready? You're on the phone still. You're distracting me with your distraction. Like, what is going on? I'm recording this already. This is going to stay on camera. This is going to, listen.
You did not say we're ready. You said it's been a while.
Did you guys hear that teacher? Oh my God. I am being attacked. I'm going to debate if I'm going to leave this in so that people see how you attack me off camera.
I have hashtag Team Anna.
Hashtag Team Anna. Yeah, you're going to start that again? That's an old thing.
I didn't start that at all.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not going to get into that. I know you won't. No, I'm not going to give you that. I'm not going to get into that.
Of course not.
Hi, Anna. How's it going?
It's going very well.
Welcome to the Creative Spin Podcast.
Thank you.
Another episode.
My pleasure.
Welcome.
I said
All
my
right.
pleasure.
That's it. Bye, guys. No. Are you ready to dive into this topic of today, in which we're going to talk about media?
Ooh.
The media.
What about media? Like
we're going to talk about
media or media?
Traditional media versus I don't like to call it new media because it's not new anymore. The current media, I guess, the current state of media. And the differences of what's going on both ends, in which the quote unquote traditional quote unquote old media is kind of I don't think they know where to go, what direction to go.
Do?
I think they do. It's just there's a lot of politics into it. I believe, this is my personal opinion, and I think that they're scrambling a little bit to figure out what to do, especially now in these pandemic days. And this all came to me because a couple of articles came up on the news yesterday and today. When we were recording this. And that's why I wanted to kind of just go through one article that I was reading from one of the newspapers online, and because it talks about a lot of different little things, and I think that it kind of we'll be able to kind of discuss. Give our own opinions, right? Who are we? Who the heck are we? Who the heck are you? I don't know. So let's hit that intro, and once we come back, we're gonna be discussing the future of radio and TV and podcasts and our predictions of the future, and then we'll watch this again in 30 years and see how wrong I was. That's what we do. All right.
Welcome to another episode of the Creative Spin Podcast. Buckle up, you're in for a show.
All right, so the news that was out there, and I know you read this as well, it was all about how there might be as many as 40 local TV outlets and about 200 Canadian radio stations that might be forced to close their doors within the next 3 years.
That's I did see that. It's a big number.
It was like, okay, that's quite a big hit. That's quite a big number. And does it surprise you?
No.
Why?
I've seen over the years a lot of these TV stations and radio stations sort of undermining what was happening in the world, in the sense that, and I get it from a professional point of view, they always defended. They are the true journalists. That's their profession, and anyone these days can just have a blog and create news, or what's fake and what's not fake. I do think, however, that was not the right approach to it. The right approach could have been, how can we use this to our advantage, and how can we add this new perspective, this new way of doing news, of doing media, to the traditional, to what we have.
Yeah.
Because of that resistance that I have seen, I was not surprised to read. It makes me sad, but I was not surprised to hear and read the news that I read.
Yeah, I think this kind of reminds me of the old story of the Netflix versus Blockbuster.
Exactly, yeah.
the fact that at the time when Netflix was trying to sell the idea to Blockbuster said, "No, kid, we got this. Nobody's gonna touch us. We've been around for years. We've got an empire, and
what
nothing
happened?
is." Yeah. Now Blockbuster.
They're an Airbnb place.
They're down to one Airbnb place or something like that. And I think you're absolutely right in terms of the traditional media not taking the advantage,
I
because
don't think they embraced what was being
I believe that they were the group in the best position possible to actually take all of this new, quote unquote,
And
because
make
it's
it
not
better.
new anymore. But when it started to pop out that, guess what? We can do stuff online. We can, get the news online and go on to YouTube and use all other platforms to actually extend our reach to our public. They were in the perfect position, and they kept themselves saying, nope, we got this.
Yeah,
We know what we're doing, kids.
It almost made me think of, the time of monarchies. The king was up there, and God forbid if you even looked at the king. And it was almost like that. It was like you have to embrace what's new. And I felt like that. I was just looking at some radio stations, some TV stations, and there were a few known ones here in Canada that have posted on YouTube, have not posted anything for the past 8 months. So the last thing they posted was like January of this year or December of last year.
But I do have to say, I also did a lot of research, and I went digging into, obviously, I went to a few of the TV stations here in Canada. I also, looked around in the States. The numbers are quite different. It's interesting to see. And that shows the number of the population, Canada versus US.
Yeah,
obviously, you're looking at, let's say, as an example, I jotted down the numbers just so I wouldn't forget, because, I'm getting old. And age does a couple of things to your brain. So like as an example, Global News, they have about, close to 2 million subscribers on YouTube, which is
very
great.
good. That's awesome.
It's good. But when you compare it to CNN, they've got 10 million.
Yeah.
So that shows you the reach of the audience in the States versus here. And that's really just a numbers game. But when I see numbers that, let's say Global News or CNN or City TV or CTV or all these guys that are out there, why haven't they grown more? I think now, within the last couple of years, they have been trying to play catch up. But YouTube's been around for 10 plus years. Facebook has been around for 10 plus years. Yeah. Yes, they have a pretty good following, but why don't they have more? It's almost like they treated it as like that kid that just showed up at dinner time and is like, yeah, sit over there at the end of the day. We'll give you some leftovers and whatever. And that's how they treated social media or social platforms. Let's put it that way.
I think it was because of that particular reason, because they are professionals in that field. And all of a sudden they see everyone posting, everyone doing things. And I don't think they took it seriously enough. Well, because I guess the background, if like a better word, was not there. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, and I get that. And I fully understand their position when it comes to professionalism. I also believe that no matter if you are on a TV or a radio station or a podcast or on YouTube, you need to be professional at what you do.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, just because you don't have a piece of paper from a college saying that you're not a professional at what you do doesn't mean that you can't be good.
Exactly.
Right? I do agree. You go to school for a reason. There are things that you learn there that will, make you a better professional. But now let me be a little bit of a devil's advocate. In the traditional news sphere, you see a lot of crap.
Yeah, you do.
I was going to say some other stuff, but
you really do.
You see a lot of crap.
And it's just like in any other profession. Not everyone who holds a degree in a particular, area means that they're the best at it.
Exactly.
And you do see, you definitely do see that. And on the other hand, you see people like, for example, myself. When I went to university, I never did journalism. I never did media studies. but I always had a genuine interest in
Yeah.
media. It's just that my program did not allow me to go that way either. And
You
then
could have done it afterwards,
and then
but
I
you
was
chose
gonna
not to.
say, and then I didn't go back to do a second degree because I started
But
teaching
people are
and all of
people,
that.
and people can learn. People can educate themselves
and
and
I
get better.
actually have a genuine interest when it comes to this. So if I now choose to go back and do a media studies degree, I probably can do well. So even without it, it doesn't mean that I cannot do. And this is what I see a lot in when I go to
But I
YouTube,
think-
when I see Facebook, whatever.
But I think that traditionalism
Blogs,
view
yeah.
of what a piece of paper is,
yeah.
I think that has been kind of losing grounds because I think as a society, we're realizing that the piece of paper does not make the person is the person, right?
Exactly.
And,
it just allows you to get into that field and you become an expert. That doesn't mean you're
Exactly.
good at it.
And the fact that, and just going back to the actual traditional media, you do see a lot of, everybody's throwing it out there, the fake news, but it is true though.
Oh, they've used it. They've fallen for it as well.
And,
right?
and that's the unfortunate side as well, is that before we used to say, oh no, if you're on TV or you're on the, working for a news outlet or whatever, you're the real deal and all of that. Yeah, that was what happened, but not nowadays. I think nowadays things are a lot different.
I have to be honest, even if it is like a renowned name, where if I see something, let's just say, the asteroid just hit Earth, and I see it on a known, publication, I don't fall for it. And maybe that's my issue, but I always need to double check in 2-3 different sources.
Yeah.
And once I see it in 2-3 different sources, it can still be fake news, but the
And
chances are
it's not so
very
much the
slim,
fake
right?
news is I find, and especially I think you see this a lot in the States. You see it here too, but even more in the States is the whole political side of news nowadays, where they just kind of like,
And they're very biased.
they kind of sway one way
Yeah,
or
they're
right or
very
left or up and
biased.
down or
Yeah.
blue or green or red, whatever it is, and you see that, you feel that when they're interviewing someone.
There are many ways of communicating the same idea.
Yeah.
And that's what your bias, even as a journalist, because don't tell me you're objective. It's impossible as a human being to be fully objective.
Yeah.
And so you do see that bias, right? And then as on this side, on this end, we need to be critical thinkers and think, okay, how? And then there's sensational titles, and a lot of times I see titles that are like, wow. And when I start reading, because I'm more of a reading kind of person, when I start reading the news, I'm like, that title doesn't really match what I'm reading.
Exactly. It's the clickbaity titles.
Yeah.
But listen, I get it.
Yeah.
There's so much out there. You need to have something to hook the audience in.
And that's the purpose of a title.
But just don't make it so
sensational.
wrong.
Right?
So in this article, I just want to go back to the article so that we can go through some of these points and then kind of discuss what could have been done or what can be done or what will happen. I don't know. Again, this is just two people here having a conversation about this article. Apparently, so the Canadian Association of Broadcasters, with this report that they issued, they're saying that the job cuts and the as into TV and radio broadcasters, they actually have a revenue shortfall of up to $1 billion, and this is
That's
estimated by the end of
crazy.
2022. And this is why all of these closures are going to happen. This is kind of, in a weird way, I'm sad because I am a radio
Me too.
person. I've
Me
always
too. That
I
makes
love
me sad,
listening to radio, but not only music radio. I love listening to talk radio. I listen to Talk 1010 a lot, and other radio stations in the city. I love the art form. And thus
Me too.
I love doing this.
I grew up
the
listening to the
podcasting.
radio. Yeah.
What I find is that I don't understand why radio didn't start, quite a few years back, integrating with these new platforms online.
Yeah.
It's kind of like now everybody's playing catch up. It's like, oh shoot, like look how many podcasts are out there now. We have a radio station. Let's start putting these things online. And let's,
Yet someone you've never heard of is a very famous podcaster.
Yeah.
Or,
So, and I think that's what got their attention is like, okay, in the beginning, it's like, whatever. He's just doing, or she's just doing a podcast. We're the radio station. And now all of a sudden, when you see some of these podcasters having a reach of like millions of people per episode, they go, oh, okay, we don't have those many people. Yeah. What's going on here? That guy that we say is unprofessional and doesn't know what they're doing and swears a lot online and does all that stuff, all of a sudden,
millions.
They open their mouth and they reach millions. And I think now everybody's playing catch up, and that's where I'm like, damn, why didn't you just see this coming? Like, who is taking care of this stuff on their end that doesn't see it coming like that? Like, would you think that people, I mean, the internet is evolving like crazy fast, and wouldn't you see this happening? I mean, we had these conversations 10 years ago, man. Did.
And I also wonder, and when we were having this conversation, I remember us saying that maybe they did have someone, a junior in the team telling them, but sometimes the age plays a factor. Maybe that person was too young. He or she didn't know what he or she was talking about, right? That was probably the person they should have listened to. Maybe not go carry on with the full program, but maybe, you know what,
just giving them a chance, giving that idea, at least that suggestion a chance.
Exactly. And this is where I think a lot of these, and not just the media, I see a lot of even business failing in that sense, is that there is that young person who understands the current trend, and no one pays attention to
I
them,
also have to say, right? I'm playing a lot of devil's advocate here today. But I also have to say, just because they're young doesn't mean that they understand everything that's going on right now.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, treat it with a grain of salt, but listen to it.
Yes.
Right?
You gotta pay attention to it and then do that. But it's concerning to see, like, I'm reading the news and I'm going, you know, another 150 radio stations could be toppled in the next 18 months.
That
crazy. Follows. This is obviously a ton of jobs as well. They're estimating about 2,000 jobs, people that are going to be left to find something else to do and get into something else. And I feel like there would not be a need for all of this had they just paid attention to what's going on in the world, right? Yeah. And it's kind of sad to see when it's like you're saying, even in business, you know, we've had our business for 16 years. I started my business. I was a graphic designer. I always say this. I was a glorified graphic designer that didn't want to be called a freelancer. So I registered my own company, and all of a sudden I had a company. But since then, I evolved. It's been 16 years of growing, hiring people, changing things,
learning.
I mean, I started off just with design. Now we're doing podcasts, we're doing video stuff, things that I would never imagine to be doing at this point when I started. But I evolved. Imagine if I was just doing design and printing. Remember when, you know, in the first years where 70 to 80% of our revenue was printing stuff? Yeah. And now we can safely say it's 5 to 10%, not even 10%. What am I kidding? It's 5% probably.
But this is with everything. Remember when I got called crazy a couple of years ago when I said I was going to start teaching online, right? And everyone just like, no, you can't.
I still call you crazy, right? But not because of that.
But the thing is, it's where pre-COVID, a lot of the language institutions, a lot of the learning centers were offering online options because people are busy or they don't want to, you know, leave the house. And so when you're teaching adults, they are motivated enough to sit in front of a computer and learn, right? Yeah. And everyone was telling me, you're nuts. That's never going to work.
Oh, look at Zoom now, eh?
COVID hits.
Why didn't you, invest in Zoom? We would have been very well off at this point.
Yeah. But there you go. But the thing is, in 2015, I got introduced to teaching through Zoom, right? Yeah. And every time I said it, I would seriously, I had one person just go, pfft. And now what? Yeah.
Now look at that. Now everything is going to be through
like
a Zoom-like thing.
Yeah. Right? So I don't know. It doesn't surprise me to hear this. Though.
Now I want your opinion on this, and I want to know if you feel like this is something that should have happened or not. They're saying that the article goes on and says, this is why we acted and decided to provide independent news and community radio broadcasters with a 25 million emergency funding as part of our sector-wide Canadian Heritage COVID-19 emergency response. It's a big number. I get it. Everybody got hit because of the pandemic. Obviously, businesses had to, look at their expenses. And I know it's kind of crazy, but businesses, the first thing that happens when a business starts slowing down is they're going to pull off any ad they have or pull off any marketing, which is the only thing that brings them business.
Exactly.
It's kind of like, it's so contradictory, but it is what happens.
Never do that.
It is what happens. So I get the fact that they got hit with, all of these clients that are backing away from advertising with them. And now all of a sudden they don't have the same amount of revenue. But didn't that happen with every single sector of business? Why is it that, all of a sudden, here's $25 million for you guys, but, you guys are just cleaners, so you're not going to get anything. You know what I mean? I get that it's important to have the news outlets out there to provide us with information and all that, but do we need so many?
I have a question though. That heritage.
I'm so much of a devil advocate right now.
But that heritage that called my attention because I didn't read that one. Heritage in the sense of keeping programs going in different languages, or
as well. So, and it also continues saying this, in that statement, it reads, additional funds were also made available for organizations who do not usually benefit from our existing programs, like independent broadcasters and producers of content in a language other than English or French. So it's interesting. They're actually, it's kind of broad. They're trying to send it to everybody. But my bottom line is this. I know we're dealing with a crazy, situation here. Nobody was expecting this thing to happen, but we need to adapt.
Yeah.
We all need to adapt. I think that's the bottom line. I get that this is a struggle, but hey, listen, it's a struggle for everybody. It's a struggle for me as well.
It was a struggle 100 years ago with the Spanish flu. It's been a struggle through World War I, World War II. Name it. It's always a struggle.
Right? And it's great that the government is stepping in and trying to help. I mean, it helped, a lot of people during this pandemic and businesses as well. I realize that. But I'm kind of like thinking, okay, is this just going to be a Band-Aid? Because that's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's my problem and my issue with this is that, you're spending millions of dollars trying to fix something with a Band-Aid. And you're not fixing the problem. You're giving money so that they can keep the doors open. But what is happening on the flip side, and what is going to happen in 6 months from now when money runs out and you still haven't fixed the issue? Or are they fixing it? I don't know. Probably they are. If anybody that's watching this or listening to us is within, the traditional media and knows of some kind of program or some kind of change that is happening with their radio station or their TV station. I mean, comment below. It would be great to actually talk to them and find out.
One of the things that I'm wondering,
and that's the other thing I just wanted to say. Like, I might sound like I'm going against traditional media. I'm not. I'm not going. I'm not. I actually, I kind of feel bad. The only thing, and this is not going against. This is kind of like me going, damn, why didn't you see it coming? Because I think most people saw it coming.
I think
and
so.
it kind of, it really actually pisses me off to see businesses disregard what's coming when they can see what's coming. Yes, the pandemic accelerated that, probably.
But the problem was there.
Everybody could see that. Yeah. Right? And it's kind of, it's just one of those things, man.
And then I'm wondering, because again, I'm as you know, I'm not a TV person, but I am definitely a radio person. Like for me, if and that's what caught my attention was, it's like, oh man, I can listen. Yeah, I have my Spotify list and whatever. Yeah. But I love radio. I'm that's just who I am, right?
I mean, we listen to radio all the time.
All the time, right? And TV, I'm not as much of a TV person, and it annoys me that I have to be in front of a TV a certain time. So, in a way, if you can make your content available to me through another platform, great, because then I'll go check it out, right? But there's a couple of things in here that I'm questioning. One is the heritage. While it is important, and we're a multicultural society, and I'm the first one to fight for that, my question here is it worth it nowadays to carry on with programs on, be it TV or radio stations that are not in English or French? Like, how big are the communities to justify that? Because, and I'll give an example. My parents are in their 70s. My mom now learned how to work with an iPad.
She's playing with that iPad.
And that woman does not listen to any radio station from Canada. She likes to listen to whatever radio station she's looking. So if I tell her you know what, there's this radio station that no longer broadcasts in Portuguese for you, she'll say no problem, because I can find the radio station from Portugal, for example, right? But my thing is, shouldn't they be looking at maintaining that heritage before the second and third generations who actually speak English and or French, but maintaining it from a different point of view? Should they be rethinking the way they are doing these programs? Don't kill them. I'm not saying kill them. Maybe do something different with them, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm hoping that's where most of these companies are now going towards is, we have the infrastructure, we have the equipment, we have the people, we have the knowledge. Let's just start slicing these things up and use them in other platforms so that it will become available. And probably, instead of spending so much money doing one thing, now, guess what? You're going to bring in a marketing guy that or someone that can, put all these things into other platforms online and make it available online for other people and start getting a bigger audience there. Hopefully, the ones that do survive, I mean, it's going to be, these numbers are kind of crazy. I don't know the full amount. I didn't research that. I don't know the number exactly of how many radio stations are out there in Canada, but that's 200. That's going to be a lot.
Scary amount.
So I don't know how this is going to work out. But listen, the Creative Spin podcast is going to be here. So if you're going to be looking at the TV and your stations or your radio stations aren't going to be there as well, we're here. Hopefully they'll start their podcasts as well. I mean, it's been crazy the amount of new podcasts now. By the way,
it was in the past a year or so?
No, it's 6 months. I would say,
was it COVID?
Exactly, 100%. People were getting into it. But COVID is like, okay, people are sitting at home. What am I going to do? Oh, there's this podcast thing going on. Okay, what do you need? A phone? Okay, I got that. Let me do a podcast. And
all of a sudden.
And it's so cool because you're getting so many different programs. I'm calling them programs now because it's just like when you're going through the TV stations and you find that show that you like. This is now it, man. You got so many
notifications for book because I like to listen to different book podcasts. I couldn't keep up. Like if I were to listen to all of these, and some of them they're not my style, but I couldn't. So I'm just sticking to the one that I was listening to before. I might start listening to a different one or so other than the Creative Spin podcast.
Yeah. Well, that one you have to listen to it twice a day.
But you can't keep up. That's the thing. You really can't.
All right. Speaking of not keeping up, I'm not keeping up with you anymore. I'm basically done recording here. We're off to do some other stuff. If you guys that are listening or watching us want to comment on this, give us your opinion. What do you think about the new media? What do you think? Where do you think this is all going? What do you think is going to happen with the older media that's out there? Should they, get their act together and do some more stuff onto the platforms? I think so. Let us know in the comments. Hit that subscribe. Give us the likes. Give us the love. Talk about us. Share us. Do whatever you want. We love you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Today's podcast is brought to you by Workplace One, a company offering boutique private offices, co-working spaces, and virtual office solutions, as well as meeting rooms in the best neighborhoods of Toronto and Kitchener-Waterloo. Ideal for entrepreneurs, companies, and passionate business people. Workplace One is where you want to be with your business. For more information, go over to workplaceone.com.